Power Book Go Season 3, Episode 7, Deal or No Deal, has just ended. And you guys know on this channel, we hop right into the spoilers of the Power Universe. So if you haven't finished this episode, haven't yet watched it, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and come back. Because we're going to dive right into everything that happened in this episode and talk about predictions based off this. Let's get into it. So much happened in this episode, and so many things was revealed to characters that they didn't know prior to this episode. So we have a lot to get into, and I think the person y'all most interested in is Tariq and Lauren. So let's start there. So Lauren told Tariq that they were moving her. She was finally going to testify. They was going to get the whole RICO case together, and Reek said he would provide evidence for her showing that he had nothing to do with her being almost killed, that it was all Effie and everybody else. So he recorded him and Effie's conversation of her admitting she did it and that he had absolutely nothing to do with it. So Lauren finally trusts him again. She also convinced her not to go into WITSEC and that she won't flip on him because they want to live normal lives. So he was able to convince her not to work with the feds anymore, at least against him, and basically they're going to help each other out so they could escape all that. Another big key piece of information that Lauren revealed to Tariq and is that Saxe is working with the feds. Yes, his lawyer, well, McClain is his first lawyer, but his second lawyer, Saxe, is working with the feds. He's been lying this whole episode, all these episodes, telling McClain he don't know nothing about this Lauren murder investigation. Tariq knew they had to know something about it, and Lauren finally revealed to Tariq that Saxe is working with the feds. Now, before the season started, once again, leave a like, comment, subscribe. Before the season started, I predicted 3 deaths, and 1 came true so far with Lorenzo, and I also predicted Saxe. Now, if Saxe died in these final 3 episodes, 8, 9, or 10, I'm telling you guys, I see these things coming. Once he said at the end of season 2, episode 10, that he was going to help Jenny bring down all these people, I knew this was going to be his demise. He was going to eventually get caught up under them, and Tariq was going to eliminate him. So glad to be right about something else. I'm telling you guys, I foresee these things coming. You guys gotta leave a like, comment, subscribe. But yes, Tariq knows Saxe is the mole, and that's how they're getting majority of their information on him. I'll also throw Effie in this Tariq Lauren part of the video because she didn't really have much going on in this episode. But besides Tariq recording the information of her admitting she had something to do with Lauren and he had nothing to do with it, she really didn't have much impact on this episode. She was just looking for money to pay her for her college or whatever, and Kane came out of pocket and paid it for her. I also predicted at the beginning of the season that Kane and Effie was going to get together. They was going to push each other. Tariq was going to push her towards him once they broke up, once he found out about Lauren, and we could finally see that's happening. So not much with Effie this episode because she is out of the business. Tariq kicked her out, so she wasn't really conversating with much of the other characters, so we really got few scenes with her. But what we do know is Tariq recorded her, and Lauren knows Tariq has nothing to do with it. It was all Effie, and she's more in tune with Kane. She's starting to open up to him, I guess you could say. So that's pretty much it for Effie this episode. Now, this is probably the 3rd episode in a row that the Tajedas was running shit this whole episode. Like, they were moving all the key pieces on the chessboard. And I guess it's because there's so many of them, it's easy for them to have important storylines. But it's mainly Monet in this episode. So she wanted to continue to cover her tracks about having set up Lorenzo to die. So she set up Kai, who was Lorenzo's old-time friend. Lorenzo taught him everything he knew about the game, and he was already always interested in Monet, and I pointed him out. He was holding the casket with Drew and Kane when they was carrying Lorenzo's casket. He's also the same guy in season 3 episode 1 where they was looking for a new connect, and they went to him and they turned him down, and he turned them down. So that's the guy I'm talking about here. She set him up. Her, Drew, and Kane killed him, and then she texts one of the Castillo brothers, the one that Drew has been with. She texted him so that it made it look like Kai and him set up the whole murder of Lorenzo. This not only got Drew and Kane to take out Kai, and then Drew took out the Costello brother finally, but this also got them to squash the beef and call a truce with the Russians. So now they're not really at war with anybody unless the Costello brothers want payback for their brother, which they don't know is dead yet because Drew just shot him point blank and Kane cleaned it all up. So Monet set all this in motion just so they don't find out about Lorenzo. And I ain't gonna lie, it was a pretty good plan because I thought she was done for and it seemed to work. I don't know what way they will find out now she killed Lorenzo, but I'm very interested to see how that plays out now. We also had some big things with Diana this episode. So, first, we're going to get that douchebag guy out the way, that Celine guy. She straight ripped him a new one. She went off on him because she talked about telling the cops about her selling drugs and how she was fucking Tariq, blah, blah, blah. Now, I don't think there's a single person who watched this show that liked this character. But she found out he been lying about his whole life, his backstory, that he was adopted by 2 white people. They're Trump supporters. He has a whole trust fund. He has all this money, but he always talk about a single mom, black power, etc., so on and so on. So she straight exposed his ass, and she's gonna keep that information to herself if he keeps the information about what she does to himself, basically. So that happened. But the really big piece that happened with Diana this episode is the DEA and cops actually came in and arrested her with Jenny and Blanca. They came in the house the last scene of the episode and arrested Diana because if you remember, I pointed out in the last episode the cameras on the rooftop had pictures of Diana putting the drugs into the lockers that they have on the roof. So they decided they finally got an arrest warrant and they came and got her at the end of this episode. So let's see how that plays out. But I made a prediction that Diana was gonna get pregnant, right? I said after the last episode, she slept with the Celine dude and Tariq. So I'm hoping they really use this storyline and she gets pregnant and they use this information to try to get her to flip on Monet. Because my initial prediction was once she finds out Monet had something to do with Lorenzo's death, that she will be fine with flipping on Monet and getting rid of her. But with this excellent plan Monet came up with it in this episode, I don't see how they will find out except for Kane, because he's putting 2 and 2 together. It seems like the smartest person in the entire show. But I think I was trying to see if she found out about Lorenzo, she'd be way more open to flip on Monet. And if she was pregnant and it was for Tariq, then it'll have a big key role in the story. And I'm hoping that storyline still happens. But right now, all we know is they got evidence of Diana moving and holding drugs. And they got the whole tie-in with the whole RICO case. They haven't arrested anyone else, but they for sure have Diana. Also, they're able to tie and connect these drugs to the Russians, to Noma's Prada, to Tariq and them selling at Weston Holdings, because that new young DEA officer, the one that everyone says looks like Angela Valdez, he went undercover, went to Weston Holdings and was digging in the trash and found one of Tariq and Brayden in them cups and found the drugs underneath. So they was able to connect all those things and show where the drugs are coming from, where they're pushing it, and connect it to the drugs they saw in Diana's picture. And they tested the purity of the drugs and they all matched. So like I said, so far they only arrested Diana, and I think that's for high suspense reasons, because Diana is the one we least expect to get in trouble, to get arrested, to go down for anything. So she's more likely to flip, and it's a more interesting storyline if it's Diana. So I'm very interested to see how that plays out. Tariq does have Lauren in his back pocket now. He's able to use her however he wants, and she finally trusts him. I want to see what Diana's decision would be, if Monet, if Kane, if Drew, they'll be willing to take the fall for her, or would they all be wrapped up in this giant RICO? And it highly depends on Saxe at this point. Now that Tariq knows what Saxe is doing, if he eliminate him, that could be way more suspicious, or it could greatly help. So we just have to see how that goes. Up next, we have Brayden. And now Brayden, he had a weird storyline this episode. It felt like it came a little out of nowhere. Basically, he was snooping around Weston Holdings and found out the whole the whole business is just a Ponzi scheme to make money. It's whole illegal. They're criminals, basically. So he found this out about Weston Holdings, and he went and confronted his uncle. Turns out the black girl he's been having sex with, she knew all this as well. She also confronted him about selling drugs in this episode, telling him he the mastermind, not Tariq, basically trying to sway him. So his uncle threatened him if he exposes this, he say anything to his father, to the cops, anything. He already knew Tariq and Brayden have been selling drugs under Weston Holdings, that he'll expose Brayden and Tariq. So he found out this whole business is just a Ponzi scheme, and this felt so random in this episode. So I don't know how this will play a role in the future, but I don't know. I feel like they just needed something for Brayden to do, and I guess this was it. Like, seriously, he had like a 30-second conversation with Reek in this episode, like a 20-second with Kane, Monet, and Reek. But the whole rest of this episode, he's pretty much with the Kiki black girl, I think is her name, or just checking out Weston Holdings, trying to find something suspicious. So him and Effie play very small roles in this episode, especially considering coming into this season, they had the biggest secret of them killing Lauren. And now it feels like their roles have greatly diminished. So I'm interested to see how they bring them back into the fold. And now let's wrap up this video with the law enforcement once again, because I kind of put out the details of what they did to this episode, but it's spread throughout each section of this video. So let me tie it all in together in one section. So like I said, the EA agent, the young one who looks like Angela Valdez, went undercover, went to Weston Holdings, found the drugs in the bottom of the cup. So he was able to connect the drugs to Tariq and their operation, to the Russians, to Noma's product, etc. So they got that connection there. They also had the pictures from the prior episode of Diana putting the drugs in the lockers on the school roof. So they was able to connect that to her, and they arrested her in this episode. Also, they still have Lauren, but Lauren decides she won't testify against Tariq. She heard his evidence that he had nothing to do with it, and basically they're going to work together to stop this whole RICO case from right up under Jenny and Blanca. Also, this episode, like I said, Lauren told Tariq that Saxe was the one who's the mole, who's giving them all the information. He's working with the Fed. So Saxe and McClain did get McClain's brother out of jail. So he kind of trusts him. And he also asked Saxe several times in this episode about the investigation into Lauren. And Saxe told McClain there was no investigation. It's all false, even though Tariq knew there was one. So interested to see how that plays out. If he dies, like I said prior, how Jenny will react. If this will be worse for Tariq and the rest of the crew. I'm very interested to see how all this goes. So now that they have the connection with the drugs with Diana, they also took the picture of Effie on the roof as well. She finally told Blanca that Lauren is alive. They feel they have everything they need to bring forth this RICO case and bring everyone down. And I'm interested to see how this plays out, because I told you guys, the last 3 episodes of every Power season, 8, 9, and 10, all feel like banger season finale. So these next episodes are about to be critical. And like I said, the most interested piece on the board right now is Diana after she just got arrested. And we know Monet and them probably are going to use McClain as their lawyer, as they have been doing for multiple seasons now. And I'm interested to see how this plays out with Tariq having the information that he has on Saxe. Will he allow this? Will he be the one to fully help Diana? I'm really hoping once again they do the pregnancy storyline. But like I said, these last 3 episodes of Power are going to be bangers. I'll be right here recapping every Friday. So make sure you guys leave a like, comment, subscribe, and I'm out.